joining you today. First of all, I'll direct your attention to the chat bar. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear and see me okay? Can you hear and see me? Let me know in the chat bar so that I know that we're connecting and that we're all under control here. So let me know. Hope you're doing well wherever you are around the world. Yes. G'day, Denise. G'day, Sarah. G'day, Sabria, Wendy, Cindy, Karen, Sikander, Louise, Rachel. Hello. Hi. Thanks for joining us. Brenda, g'day, and sunny Bendigo. Oh, well, you've got nice weather there. G'day, Judy, Julie. Hello. Barbara. Hello, everyone. It's lovely to have you all with us today, wherever you are around the world and whatever you're going through. You know, we're all going through these different things at different stages of the inflammatory arthritis journey. And wherever you're at today, I just want to say I appreciate you and I'm grateful that we're spending this time together. G'day, Jill. G'day, Kareem. Elaine from Canada. Suma, g'day. Robin. I missed a bunch that was scrolling, but hello, everyone. And welcome. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to go through some training about inflammatory arthritis, and I'm going to be teaching you some real fundamental stuff that's, you got to get this right or it's just going to be a struggle. So that's what we're going to go through today. And let's move straight towards that. Let me get some slides going here and see whether or not, yeah, look at me appearing down the bottom there. So today's talk is how to make immediate improvements with your rheumatoid arthritis. So that's what we're going to go through. Now, as we go through this presentation, I may not be keeping a close eye on the chat bar. I'll be thinking about what I'm saying and presenting and so on. But, you know, I'll glance down there from time to time. You can post questions in there, and we're going to do a great Q&A session at the end. So when I say great, I mean we'll spend time going through. I hope to get through as many questions as I can. But I might not see every question as we're going along. That's what I'm saying. I might not see your question and stop what I'm doing at that time. But post your questions in there as we go, and I'll try and get to them all at the end. Obviously, that's where we'll focus most of our efforts at the end. So, and I should do a disclaimer. Obviously, nothing we talk about today is medical advice. I'm not a medical professional and seek a professional's advice before making any changes to diet, lifestyle, exercise, supplements, and so on. And g'day, Shemaine and Kathy and Diane. Awesome. Diane's excited. I'm excited. Fantastic. Love you guys. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So today you will learn how to eat to reduce pain levels. Okay, so this will take the fear away from eating, and we're going to learn how to eat more food without adding pain. We're going to talk about the one thing that causes uncontrollable inflammation, the absolute kryptonite of inflammatory arthritis, and how we can avoid that. So before we do that, I just want to find out what's your diagnosis. Now, I've created a little poll here. See if we can, let's see, publish this. Let's see if this pops up. There's a poll. Can you head over to the poll section inside the sort of menu there? And there's a little poll. So I'm going to click on the top one, which says RA. Oh, look at this. The numbers are flying around. Okay, so we're collecting data at the moment of our group from you. So please go into the poll section there and do that. And the numbers are changing around. Looks like psoriatic arthritis is getting a bit of activity, and rheumatoid arthritis as well. So I'll just give you another few seconds to do that while I have a drink of water. Okay. So it looks like, as I'm about to end this poll, that at the moment we've got 84% of people on the call with rheumatoid, 7% with psoriatic. A few people have ankylosing spondylitis, and just maybe a couple have lupus and psoriatic arthritis. Oh, I've put psoriatic arthritis there twice. I'm sorry. So let's bump that 1% onto the other and call that 8%. And there might be some people with maybe another condition. Okay, so that enables me to speak mostly towards rheumatoid, but let me just say that psoriatic performs just so similar to the changes we're about to talk about today that you can virtually tie it all in together. And what I want you to know about ankylosing spondylitis, because I may not get deeply into that in this talk today, but ankylosing spondylitis is exactly the same responding to what we're talking about, but must emphasize also an exercise component. Some of the best results I've ever seen for ankylosing spondylitis involve a tremendous exercise component. Okay, so let's end the poll on that one. So we come back over now to the presentation, and just in the chat bar, just let me know what medications you're taking. Just fly down prednisone, methotrexate, whether it be, a biologic drug, just dump them in there, and let's just get an idea of what everyone's taking today. And so I can assess if it's, biologic related, if it's disease modifying drugs mostly, and so on. Okay, so I won't read out names for this one, but we've got Humira, prednisone, Orencia, which is a biologic, methotrexate, good old methotrexate, prednisone. Okay, prednisone, methotrexate, hydroxychloroquine, prednisone. Okay, hydrocortisone, a steroid. Yep, sulfasalazine, none. Okay, Simponi, all right, another biologic, none. All right, so we've got a few on none. We've got methotrexate, prednisone. All right, okay, so we've got a good spread. Okay, some more people, none. Okay, and leflunomide, which is a raver, Plaquenil. Okay, all right, thanks everyone. Okay, so we've got a good spread. It's not necessarily another, okay, yep, all right, great. Lots of biologics coming through as well. And just as an aside, I've noticed over the years a trend towards more biologics early. So they're being used not for just extreme cases, they're being used for first-line treatment in some people who actually have the good insurance in the United States. And it's not so much like a last resort anymore. So that's why we're seeing now a lot more of these biologic drugs coming up in our discussion. So this presentation is for you if you're experiencing any of these symptoms. All the classic stuff, if you've got the swelling in the joints, the redness, the heat, the inflammation. If you're finding it difficult to sleep at night, could be because of the joint pain itself, or it could be because of other related issues, worry, or just sleep habits. The fatigue, anemia, very common, especially if your inflammation's high, you can develop anemia of chronic disease. Morning stiffness, nausea, headaches, dry eyes, rash, and so on. So this is all for you. One thing I want to get across today is that it doesn't have to be an uncontrolled nightmare. That's one thing I want you to take away above all else. It doesn't need to be an uncontrolled nightmare. We can come at this from a 360-degree approach, not just medications, but many of the things that I'll talk about today. And whilst medications are crucial and play a big role for most people, we can do so much more. And we can really address, and I know it's a cliche, but get to the underlying cause more and really work on that aspect of our healing. Just to give you some examples, and I'm going to give you quite a few of these little examples as inspiration and as motivation. Michelle says, I've been using this program, referring to the program that we have, since 16th of April. Completely 100% changed my life. Saw my rheumatologist last week, and I'm off all medication. Okay. Leanne says, I've been on the program for 6 weeks. My C-reactive protein dropped from 100, which is enormous. It's meant to be below 5, down to 37. Pain level from 10 to a 5. And also, someone says you're not seeing me because of let me try and, okay. Is the poll gone now? Is the poll, can someone let me know if the poll is gone? And so thank you so much for all the research. I actually feel like I've got some control back in my life. So control is another theme that we'll be talking about today. All right. Andrea says, I finished the cleanse yesterday and start on my basic foods today. Thank you guys who said that the poll was still up. I'm sorry about that. My one joint that looked so much worse is almost normal. Thank you so much. What you guys are doing changes lives and saves lives. Okay, fantastic. And then the last one, Christine, who has psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. My pain has reduced drastically and truly believe it's all about eating plant-based foods. Now, that's a little teaser is what we're going to get to in a minute, and taking out the dairy and the gluten. Plus, it's healed my psoriasis, and that's given her confidence back. All right, so we do, just total disclosure, we do have a program, we have a system that really helps people with inflammatory arthritis. And at the end, I'm going to throw in all of these extra free bonuses to make it like so much more valuable to buy that if you would like today, as opposed to any other time. So I hope everyone stays at the end and checks that out. So why should you take any interest in what I'm saying? What do I know about this? So I'm not a medical doctor. I've never claimed to have any medical knowledge. My experience has been the hard way. I gave a TED talk about 5 years ago now that's been viewed a lot online on YouTube, and it describes my immense struggle and then transformation with my health with rheumatoid arthritis. You can watch that online. I'm not going to go into too many details of that because I want to save our time here, but the basics of it is that my struggle led to some immense discoveries. I discovered things the very hard way, the worst way. I had no guidance as to what to eat, why. There were no testimonials online. There were no examples of people I could follow. So I was diagnosed in 2006, and you can see that there is an immense yeah, the kids are in the background. Look, this is live. You know, what can you do? So there's an immense swelling in that left knee. You can see that immense swelling. And the right knee there is like a conventional normal knee. And it actually looks like two different legs. But I had seropositive aggressive rheumatoid arthritis, so inflammation markers through the roof. I wasn't as bad as one of the earlier examples of someone who I gave. I wasn't 100, but I was 56 C-reactive protein, and my rheumatoid factor was elevated, anti-CCP antibodies elevated, meaning I was completely seropositive, and it affected virtually everything: chest, jaw, elbows, wrists, fingers, knuckles, ankles, feet, and that left knee, of course. To say it was a nightmare is pretty accurate. Within 4 years of diagnosis, I had to have a complete elbow synovectomy. So like that's a complete screw up, to be honest. Like, and that's not the rheumatologist's fault. That was my fault because I just thought straight out the bat, hey, why don't I try all these natural things? But I didn't know what natural things work. And so I went pretty bad pretty quick. And I was on maximum dose of methotrexate as well when I was having this surgery and exploring all options. And then what I did is I just went all in on the greens. I went on a plant-based diet. So that means no meat, no dairy, no oils, okay? And I ate a tremendous amount of leafy greens. Thanks, Barbara says I love it, and she's laughing at the kids in the background. I'm sorry, guys, but like, you know, what can I do? I can't ask them to leave. It's raining outside. So I went on this massive raw green vegetarian vegan kick, and slowly I watched the inflammation go down. And I was also doing a lot of exercise within my own capacity because I had that tremendous knee inflammation. But I was able to then transition to simple foods like buckwheat and quinoa, which are pretty foreign to a lot of people. And I'd never even heard of these things, but I had researched and thought, that sounds good. That sounds anti-inflammatory and no gluten and alkalizing and easy to digest. And so I included those. Sweet potato, brown rice, and some more sweet potato, and lots of greens, which is going to be in just a second what we're going to talk about. and I was able to get off methotrexate. So my blood markers said on methotrexate previously for rheumatoid arthritis. And this is us about 3 weeks ago. We're out on a paddle board. And of course, one of my big motivators with methotrexate was to get off that drug so that I could have kids. And the rheumatologist offered alternative drugs. But in my mind, I thought, what if I could come off it altogether and then be able to start a family? And so this is our family here, and having some happy times. That's Aidan and Ariel and Angelina and Melissa, who's pretty much the linchpin behind everything that happens in our family, including me getting well. She played a huge role in that. So right now my C-reactive protein is 0.5 milligram per litre. That was the last test recently. And as I said, it was as high as 55 milligram per litre. That obviously is a massive transformation. I've had in that whole time since 2011, when I became symptom-free and off my methotrexate, I've had one enormous stuff-up, right? One enormous stuff-up. And I'm going to talk about it coming up in just a second, okay? Because I haven't shared the details of this. And I'm not going to share massive details of this on this call. I am going to talk about it in a podcast in great detail, but I'm going to share more than I've shared before in it because, I was pretty impacted by it. Okay, so, and this is me just this is a clip from a video, and I didn't want to play the video because my file size here is too big, but in this video, which I took the other day at the gym, I was able to do 6 consecutive full extension and flexion chin-ups. So back to my old ability after that hiccup there I was mentioning about a minute ago. Now, we have helped since 2013, which is a few years after I felt well, we started helping people online. So we've helped 12,000 people. So 12,000 people have done our programs of one form or the other across 62 countries we're aware of. Facebook fans, YouTube, all fine and dandy, but what I wanted to show you mostly is I have received individual emails from over 57,000 people with inflammatory arthritis in the past since, 8 years as we're doing this today. So the exposure to solutions, the exposure to challenges, the exposure to the ups and downs, the exposure to people's supplements, family challenges, you name it. I have had enormous exposure, possibly more than, I want to say more than anyone else on earth, because when you see your rheumatologist, you talk about drugs and what hurts. When people talk to me, they talk about solutions. I want to get better. I want to get off this and off that, and I want my knee to improve, and I want my hands to close, and I want to wake up in the morning without morning stiffness. So the conversations I have with people are about solutions, okay? Kathy says that's inspiring. Wish my C-reactive protein was that low. Yes, C-reactive protein of 0.5 is very, very low, and in my case, it's reflective of inflammation. In some people's cases, it's not. But I've got comparative, as I said, markers at 56. And boy, I tell you, 56 C-reactive protein, that hurts. I can confidently say that we've helped more people with RA than any program on earth by, I want to probably say, a factor of 20. If for everyone else that's helped people, one person, and helped them become improve the quality of life to the point that it's transformational, we'll have produced 20. And that's not just, that's supported by this little cross-section here of people on the screen is just a sample of people from 2019 who appeared on our podcast, not just the folks who did well, but those who then wanted to be brave enough to come and share it and organise a time with me. So we've got thousands of people who have been very happy with their outcomes. So given all that framework, my belief system, after learning all of this and experiencing all this and communicating with all these people, including yourself, is that gut impact is The gut health impacts everything. So if you've been struggling, consider this. We've got 30 trillion human cells, but we have 39 trillion microbial cells. You and I are only 43% human beings. We are really just an incubator for microbes. That's what really is going on. It's absolutely fascinating, okay? So these microbes, most of which live in our colon, impact everything. If you're finding that the drugs aren't responding well to, you're taking the drugs but they're not helping you enough, very likely could be your gut microbiome. And microbiome just means like the collection of bacteria in your colon. That's all it means. So that's your drug effectiveness, but your immune system, 60% of your immune system is in the gut. And what dictates your immune system? The gut bacteria, okay? What dictates your mood? Your gut bacteria. And the decisions that you make around what to eat, and even some choices around actions that you take throughout the day are influenced. We know this through the gut-brain axis by your gut bacteria. So you've got to understand that we're not as smart as we think. Myself definitely included. We are impacted by the environment in our gut. And so we have to be really smart to make choices for ourselves, to override the current habits that aren't supporting us, to be able to change the puppeteers that are pulling our strings that exist inside us. So it's like meditating, right? The conscious brain doesn't want to be shut down, but you need your conscious brain to decide to go and meditate, but it thinks of every reason not to. Same way, we have to override the wiring of our gut bacteria, which is saying, eat that, stay up late, look at your phone before you go to bed. Engage in these poor habits of maybe sitting on the couch all day without doing anything productive, even though you know it would help you. Okay, so that's what we're up against. All right, now there are 3 simple truths that work every single time. This is not the complete picture. The complete picture would take me 4 days to present. This, however, is, as promised, will give you immediate results. Immediate results. I promise you. Okay? Promise. We can eat to reduce our pain levels, and I'll show you I'll show you the concepts of what to eat. You can eat more diversity in your diet without adding pain, so you don't have to think that you're stuck in one diet forever. And you can eliminate the hidden culprit that causes so much ongoing inflammation. So if you're new to this, this is going to be transformative. Okay? The first thing we need to do is eat right and have less pain. What does eating right look like? Eating right is a plant-based diet. I don't want anyone rolling their eyes. I don't want anyone saying, is that it? I want you to understand that the more fiber that you consume, the more health you have in your gut, which means better microbes, which means better immunity, better choices. The diversity of the gut microbiome also matters, but simply eating fiber and lots of any type of fiber is going to be the first step. So I've put on the screen here just some samples of some recipes that are in our recipe book, just so you can see that this isn't like a sentence to jail. Okay, we're talking about delicious, beautiful red dals and moong dal soup. And if you've never had these Indian dishes, you are in for a treat. Some edamame lemon quinoa salad, some adzuki pumpkin casseroles. Okay, so these are delicious, real delicious from the earth foods. Okay, like Diane says, real health. Okay. Here are some more examples. Veggie breakfasts. This one here says mega miso soup, which is something that I just created, which is very simple, which is miso paste, which is rich in bacteria, healthy bacteria, mixed with some seaweed and some brown rice. Very simple, okay, very simple. Oatmeal with blueberries and bananas, sweet potato soup. Okay, so these are just some examples of some meals that you can enjoy that actually can improve your quality of life, not just reduce inflammation. And so the key number one is we need more plants. Okay, we've got to eat. Now, I just want to spend a moment talking about some other eliminations diets. So the first thing that might come to mind is, well, what about someone did a paleo diet or a keto diet? Or what about someone even went on one of these carnivore diets where you eat nothing but meat? And people have had some success. 2 comments about that. First of all, dairy is the number one problem for most people. Okay, so just milk, straight out milk, all right? Cow's milk. So sometimes some people who appear in these online success stories say, I did this diet and I got rid of my pain. Hey, you've got to go paleo. Hey, do this weird diet. Truth be told, that they probably just had a high intolerance to one particular food group. It might have been the dairy, it might have been oils. And by doing this intervention, they eliminated that and they made great progress initially. However, long term, not even in a few weeks from now, but maybe in a year from now, a few years from now, consuming high-fat animal proteins or seed oils is going to catch up on you. Okay, so we know universally, the universal truth agreed by everyone on earth, the more plants we eat, the better. Or the way they put it is, we should all eat more plants, whether it be for the planet, for animal species protection, or for the human health. Okay, so I believe 100%. Why not? If you know that's the guidelines, why not do it 100%? Everything else is just sort of not as good. And so if we do that, we can reduce inflammation, we improve our gut health. Studies show we'll reduce osteoporosis, extend your life, lower blood pressure and lower cholesterol. So let's have a look at the next slide. This has been proven by the Blue Zones Around the World, a book by Dan Buettner, who as part of National Geographic program went around the world and found which people in the world live the longest. And it's the people who eat the most plants. There's some other factors involving having support from your community. Some of them even drink some coffee and tea regularly. So there's debate about if coffee is good for you, tea is good for you. But without getting into some of those less crucial things for RA, the universal truth is that more plants and that mostly plant-based diet is going to help you live longer. And the studies on just vegetarianism show that you'll live 7 years longer. Just vegetarianism. That includes the cheese and milk and stuff, which I've just discredited. Okay, so truth number 2. So we know we've got to eat plants, but how can we have more diversity, right? Because some people will eat some plants, but then they find, oh, but I get stuck just eating, maybe I can only eat a small range of plant foods because the rest of them give me pain. Well, the way to do it is you got to go insanely hard on the green salads. Now, the salad is the pinnacle of health within the plant-based diet. I never ate any salads at all until I was about 33. Can you believe that? I'm talking not one salad that I can ever remember in 33 years. I know we never had one until I was 18. We're living at home. We used to have steamed vegetables, but never leafy greens, never throughout my 20s. And I think it was after I got diagnosed with RA at 31 that I finally started to have some salad when I met my now wife. So leafy greens are so crucial because they're the number one food for the gut bacteria. Number one. Gut bacteria that support your health love leafy greens. So we want to eat lots and lots of them. I'll give you some examples in just a moment of people who did exactly that. Leafy greens also have no omega-6. And I'll talk about omega-3 and omega-6 in just a moment. But that is another crucial factor. They're rich in minerals. They're the best source of food for your gut microbiome. They're alkalizing, and they have no omega-6, only omega-3. Now, these are crucial things. All right, so here are some examples of people who did this. So case study with Shelley. She was on prednisone, methotrexate, Plaquenil. Shelley's from Florida. She said it was really difficult to walk and really difficult to do anything. Difficult to get out of bed, to shower, or to brush my hair. All of us have probably been there. I felt like a 90-year-old woman. I think I've felt like a 90-year-old woman at times. No matter what, I couldn't get off the prednisone. Prednisone's so difficult to get off. You get this concept that medical professionals don't believe in, but essentially a phenomenon that's described as adrenal fatigue. You're trying to get off that prednisone, but the body becomes dependent on that steroid, and it's difficult. However, she followed our system, Rheumatoid Solutions system. She became drug-free and pain-free, and I spoke to her after 12 months. So she'd been off drugs for 12 months when she contacted me. She said, I started the dietary program and emphasized as much salad as I could, and 2 weeks felt so much better. And then over the course of the last year, I celebrated 1 year being off all my drugs, and I'm celebrating that. That is huge. Okay, there are more examples of people who have done this. More recently, Anne-Marie was on our podcast. She was on methotrexate. She said, I could not put shoes on my feet. They hurt so bad. So many of us have had problems with our feet. It's so challenging. And she said getting out of bed in the morning was, oh, please don't make me do it. My activity levels had gone down to nothing. Could not even walk my dog because it hurt too much to walk around the block. I also had aches and pains everywhere else. Like one day I couldn't lift my arm over my head. She then followed the system, became drug-free and pain-free. She said, my most recent blood work has virtually never been better. The doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep at it because everything is spectacular. My pain reduction smoothie, which we'll talk about in a second, she has 4 ingredients. So when you're drug-free and pain-free, it doesn't mean that you are all set for life, game over, goodbye RA, talk to you later, I'll forget about you forever. You operate within a disciplinary set of behaviours that keep your symptoms at a level that aren't detectable. However, periodically, something sort of shows a little symptoms come back, and that's when you need to intervene and do something about it. Now, normally that requires lots of leafy greens, some improved exercise habits or whatever. So what Anne-Marie's talking about here is her intervention. I call it a reset. In the program, we say going back to baseline foods. Okay, and so what her little reset is, cucumber, celery, sweet potato, and spinach. Yes, she steams sweet potato and puts it into a smoothie. But it's the pound of spinach, which is just as fascinating. So she says when you're in a depleted state, or when you're really sick, or when you're really in pain, or when all of that is happening, the number of nutrients you need from the greens is 10 times more than the average person. So, there's this concept of it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. Well, we don't absorb leafy greens at all. They pass right through us, but our gut bacteria consume those leafy greens, ferment them, or metabolize them, whatever you want to call it, and create our health for us that way. Someone says, I don't want to lose weight. Yes, I've got guidelines for you to avoid weight loss. Can you put raw sweet potato in a smoothie? I wouldn't. No, I would definitely cook it first. You wouldn't eat it raw, so you wouldn't put in the smoothie raw. So key number 2, for more diversity in your diet, get fitter. A lot of us struggle with how to exercise because, my left elbow took a lot of damage. My right elbow was inflamed for several years. It's not perfect, doesn't straighten. How do we exercise? Well, we have to work our way. We have to work out ways in which we can exercise to work around our challenges, whether they be fatigue, inflammation, or whatever. Erin went to yoga for 4 times a week, just 4 times a week, and she said that I'm eating so much more variety of food. I don't have to do 2 meals I don't have to do 2 meals for every meal anymore. So when you're doing our program, what you'll find is that some of the family members don't want to eat as simply and as cleanly as what you do because they don't have the symptoms. So what she's saying is that by being able to exercise more, she was then able to introduce more foods and get it to the point where the family and her could all eat the same because the foods were more conventional, more recipe book sort of style. Energy levels are up, sleeping a bit better. I just feel so much better in myself. My RA is definitely better than it was. and just so much more under control, which is fantastic. Looking at, Barbara says, wow, this is so informative and motivating already. Great. Okay, thanks, Barbara. Glad you're enjoying it. So here is a study which supports the experience of Erin. I don't want you to get freaked out by the concept of having to move your body a little bit more and having to go to yoga 4 times a week if that's beyond you at the moment. You might be in lockdown. You might have had RA for 35 years. What astounds me is how much the body can respond to some small interventions. And that's why I want to draw your attention to this study. In this study, just getting participants on a treadmill, and I want to say 3 times a week. It might have only been once a week. I didn't check that, but you can see the study there if you want to confirm that. But just fairly infrequent use of a treadmill, with the key being that on the treadmill, participants were asked to get their heart rate up to 80% just for 1 minute, several times over half an hour. And without a treadmill, you could do this just walking around. Find a hill, just go for a walk at whatever pace you can, and conceptually this just means walk quicker for 60 seconds, then walk normal. Walk quicker for 60 seconds, then just walk normal. Because the results from this study were phenomenal. Just 10 weeks of doing this, and they were able to reduce the severity of their inflammation. And it sounds too good to be true, but the truth is that no one does it. No one tries it. And we get amazed at how well the body can respond when we actually give it a chance by doing things that it needs to do. Because biologically, we're designed to sometimes go quickly. We're biologically designed to push ourselves and get our heart rate up. So this is another way of reducing inflammation and then getting the overall ability to introduce foods into our diet more successfully. So just to recap that, the fitter you are, the lower your inflammation will likely be, and the easier it will be to eat more variety of foods without pain. Okay? So number 3, and this is where I spend half the time talking to people about. It really is. The truth number 3, vegetable oils are the most inflammatory food. Period. What does this mean? It comes down to the human cell. There's 2 aspects of teaching rheumatoid arthritis and 2 concepts that are most important. It's the microbiome, and then it's the concept of the cell itself. And in the past, I've taught this around this concept of oxidative stress. I'm not even going to go there. I might not even mention that again right now, but I'm going to talk about the cell, which is the source of where oxidative stress occurs. And the human cell comprises fats. That's what a human cell is, the outer shell of the human cell. Okay, I'm in trouble here. Hang on. Aiden, I'm on the call, honey, babe. Okay. It's like that. Did you ever see that news reporter in Europe, and like his kid runs in on him? I feel like that right now. Okay. I'm trying to teach probably the most complex part of this presentation right now. So the cell of the human cell, remember 40 trillion human cells, right? We talked about human cells and microbe cells. So we have a lot of these cells, but they have this bilayer of fat around the cells. And all you need to know to be able to appreciate its importance is that what we eat impacts the fat around the cell. So if you eat a certain type of fat consistently, that fat goes towards making up the constituents of the fat that's in the cell. And most specifically, the unsaturated fats. Okay, now it's difficult to find a simplistic version of this, and I'll be straight up with you. If we go too deep in this, I get lost as well. But I understand the top level concepts enough to be able to confidently simplify them and feel that I can share them and answer questions on them today. But we have here, I don't know if my cursor shows up on the screen, but the most zoomed version, you can see it looks like sort of a round head, and then it has a solid leg, and that looks like it's taking a step here at the bottom. The step-looking leg is the unsaturated fatty acid, and it has a kink in it. Those unsaturated fats can be made up of, most importantly, omega-3s and omega-6s, all right? And that's what we're going to talk about next, because the composition of the cell's fat plays an enormous role on your health. If you can get the composition of the fat of your cells right, you are going to be in such a good shape. So let's look at how these polyunsaturated fats influence rheumatoid via the way that they compose the unsaturated portion of the cell wall. We've got two columns here, an omega-6 column and omega-3 column. In the middle, I want you not to have to try and pronounce or ever to spell those things in the middle down the center, but they are enzymes. Now, enzymes help convert one thing to another. They break things down and rebuild them. And so what it's showing is we head down the omega-6 path down the left and head down the omega-3 path down the right. They actually use the same set of enzymes. So if you're eating a lot of omega-6s, all your enzymes come together and convert the top one, which is linoleic acid, into arachidonic acid. And what that does is create inflammation. That is that pathway, it's described, is an inflammatory pathway. This creates inflammation in the body. This is as sure as the sun's going to come up tomorrow. On the right-hand column, we have omega-3. Starts with alpha linoleic acid, and the picture next to it shows flax seeds, which is one example of a food source that has a lot of omega-3 content. Down to EPA, most of us are associating EPA with fish oil. Now, fish oil is EPA, okay, it contains EPA. Fish get their EPA not because they produce it themselves, but because they eat algae, and the algae is rich in EPA. So the fish's cells absorb this, and then consuming fish oil means that you then get the beneficial effects of the algae, but you've filtered it through the fish. So let's not think for a second that fish oil is essential. I'm going to show you how we can hack this system with foods. So we then go in the pathway on the right under EPA down to DHA, and this is the area where brain health comes in, Alzheimer's studies and so on, which show the crucial nature of DHA in our health, especially in the brain. The big picture here is that omega-6 on the left is inflammatory pathway. Omega-3 on the right is an anti-inflammatory pathway because they build up the cells in our body, and the composition of the fats, the ratio of the fats, influences our overall health. All right, so on to the next page on this. I want you to see the highlighted yellow columns here. We're looking at oils, and then we're looking at omega-6, omega-3, and then the ratio. So the ones that I've highlighted are common deep fryer oils that you would have at a restaurant. Say if you went to McDonald's or KFC, or you went to even a nice restaurant and they had anything that was deep fried, you're going to find some combination normally of canola oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil, and sometimes some others, but it depends on the cost, right? They don't want to spend too much money buying gallons and gallons and gallons of this oil that has to be constantly consumed. And then you'll see that the ratios, particularly with peanut oil, which is a common deep fryer oil, the omega-6 per ounce is 8,961 compared to 0 omega-3. Now, my story, the hiccup I've had in the last 9 years, I went to a restaurant and I ate deep fried sweet potatoes and an oily vegetable burger that had been, submersed in deep fryer oil. And I instantly, the next day, felt inflammation in my body. So that was almost like, okay, years and years of feeling great, months at a time without a symptom at all, feeling bulletproof. And then we went to a restaurant that I never went to, I never wanted to go to, because our Indian restaurant that was approved, in our words, I could eat at no problem, because a little bit of ghee, even, a little bit of olive oil that's used in some Indian dishes. Well, let's look at the olive oil here. It's slightly orange. It's about halfway down. So the ratio on the right is 13:1. Okay, so a little bit of olive oil isn't going to upset someone who has a nice balance of their fats in their cells. But if you start dumping 9,000 to zero, so we're talking like an virtually infinite, depending on how much oil you consume, if we refer to the peanut oil, that's going to stuff you up. And that's what happened to me. So that shifted my balance by doing the number one thing that I tell everyone not to do, which is do not consume oils. And number one, never, ever anything deep fried. And the reason was our restaurant was shut. It was 9 o'clock at night. We couldn't find a place to eat. We had nothing to fall back on back at the house. We're all starving. The kids were screaming. You know what it's like if you're a parent. 9 o'clock at night, the kids are just over it. Everyone wants to go home. You've waited for a table for 45 minutes at the place you don't want to be to. Terrible situation. So it took a long time for me to recover from that. So I had to go back to the things that we're talking about in this presentation and get all those things right. Barbara says, what? Olive oil? Absolutely. So what I want you to understand here is that if you are trying to optimize your omega-3 and omega-6 ratios, olive oil should not be in your routine. I'm here to help you, not to make you laugh and just sit back and think, I want to keep doing the same thing each day. So in our program, we teach no oils. In the future, a little bit of olive oil, yeah, you might be okay. You can have some balsamic vinegar if you want to spice up your salad, or some lemon juice, even some oranges on top, shave some carrots and do things like that. Okay, so, yep, Kathy says, I knew it. I suspected this, as I always feel awful after deep fried things. Let me tell you, Kathy, if I have just changed your life. Never eat anything deep fried, and you will see a different future. I promise you. I promise you. Don't do it. If it's there and you're starving, just don't eat. Okay. So what have we gone over here? And let me just say, we can get our fats easily through the foods that I'm talking about, through healthy plant-based foods. Leafy greens, remember, 100% omega-3. Now, the fat content's very low, but I'm going to encourage you to eat a lot of them, which means that you get enough of the requirement each day, once you also take into account the little bits of fatty acids that you get from other plant foods. And you can always supplement an EPA DHA from an algae source, which is where the fish get it from. And I got no issue with that. Okay, so what have we learned so far? More plants. We've got to eat plants. The more plants, the better gut health. The better gut health, the less inflammation. And the better choices that we make. We're not getting stuck into this same routine dominated by our gut bacteria. We want to emphasize leafy greens as much as possible. Leafy greens. We've got to make sure that we never eat oils again. So who feels that they're learning stuff? I see some nice comments here. Great. Feels so much better with no fried, oily foods. Absolutely. My cholesterol finally corrected after I stopped eating fried and greasy foods. Absolutely. Someone's mentioned avocado. It has still an omega-6 superior over omega-3 ratio, which is why I don't recommend eating those. But let me tell you about how I can share everything with you. I'm excited about this. Would you like me to show you how you can start making a positive change immediately using everything that I've learned the last 8 years to transform where you're from at the moment to a state of less inflammation? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. let me show you what we do. Oh, Cindy, don't be overwhelmed. Yes, Kathy, absolutely. Let me show you now. Don't be overwhelmed, Cindy. Do not be overwhelmed. Smile. Things are about to get so much easier. If this is new information to you, then you're in a tremendous position. Like I was when I first went to Bikram Yoga, and I thought, I can't do anything. I don't know any of this. My body doesn't work. But then I listened to some information about Bikram Yoga, the teacher, and he said, you have the most to gain. You have the most to learn and the most to benefit, because the starting point is the least, which is where I was at in yoga. So let me show you. We help people with inflammatory arthritis get incredible improvements with their health from the science-based Rheumatoid Solutions system. This began many years ago as the Patterson program, and for many years it was all about the dietary aspect, but there's so much more to this, and we've turned this, today I've put this into a complete package that is unlike anything I've ever done before. So what we're going to do is talk about how we can make every bite right. From day one, you'll discover the ways that I'll show you now in our materials, how to eat specific foods to reduce pain, which ones to eat, what day, why. Not only that, when to eat, because that affects your inflammation levels. How often to eat? Do you snack? Do you eat a lot? And what combinations to reduce pain? How to identify your own food sensitivities, because the studies are really clear on food sensitivities. One person might react to nightshade vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, even goji berries are a nightshade. So how do we identify those and how to set your goals for success? Step 2, eliminate the fear of food. I can't tell you how many times I thought if I didn't have to eat, life would be good. I'm terrified of food. But if you eat the right food consistently, your pain levels remain down and you can eat as much of those foods as you want without increasing pain. Okay, so what that does is build confidence. So the step 3 is we become confident in your decisions. You'll use the reintroduction guide to eat the right foods consistently and stop the sudden onset of flares. So one thing that I realized a long time ago, a flare is a reaction. A reaction comes from an action. Flares aren't random. They appear random, but they are a result of something that happened. And as your inflammation goes down and down and down, and you become more aware of the subtleties of the result of eating and exercising, these flares are actually indicators that something happened. Now, it is sometimes tough to work it out. Sometimes it's not food. It could be a stress event, or it could be the way we slept at night or didn't get enough sleep at night. It could be jet lag, tremendously detrimental for the microbiome. It could be a lack of exercise or too much or at the wrong time, or exercising full of food when your tummy's full. I've done that before. But these flares are actually a reaction. Okay, what we want to do is to realize that and to find that we have confidence. The confidence comes back. So one of the goals that I like to put in everyone's mind is aiming not to be drug-free. That's not the objective, right? Whilst that's a great outcome, it's not our goal. This is not a drug-free objective program. What we're aiming for is to achieve a state of complete confidence and control. Confidence and control, so that we are the puppeteer. We are pulling the strings. We are our health puppeteer. We know that if we do that, we're going to get that. If we do that, we're going to get that. If we eat fried foods, boom, we're going to be in trouble, and we don't want to go there. We don't want to step on those landmines, all right? So all of this stuff is taught inside our life-changing rheumatoid arthritis solutions system. It's an entirely online platform that you can access instantly, like literally before we're even done on this call. And here's what's included. We talked about the Patterson program for rheumatoid arthritis. We talked about this step-by-step guide. So you'll be told exactly what to eat day 1, day 2, then day 3 through day 12, and then how to reintroduce foods. And I have videos going over every aspect of the way. Sometimes we change our diet and we might have some indigestion because our enzymes and bacteria aren't compatible with the new foods, because it's like a factory that used to make blue boxes, but now you're saying make red boxes, and there's a transitional period for some people. Some people, it's just instant results, as I'll show in a minute of someone as just another example. So you get that. Live calls to help you. Once a month, we'll get on just like this, and it'll be myself, or sometimes I will have on these calls a rheumatologist. In fact, we've had, I think, 15 rheumatology sessions in the last year and a half. So nearly every month I bring a rheumatologist on, and those rheumatologists will answer your questions. So obviously I'm in teaching presentation mode at the moment, but we'll get questions in a minute. But those sessions are all questions, nothing but questions, everything you want. And we go through everything. Lisa says, do you give an advanced shopping list to prepare for the week? Absolutely. There's literally your shopping list page. Yep, literally the exact thing that you need. And then you go out to the grocery store, buy everything you need, come back, and then you're set. In fact, it's for the whole week. Yeah, for the week. This is something that's brand new that I've put together for you guys, RA workout guides. Something that struck me that no one ever talks about, that's so crucial with reversing inflammation in the big joints, the knees, the shoulders, the elbows, is that a lot of tendinitis gets mixed up with synovitis. Tendinitis refers to just inflammation of the tendons, which is the connective tissue at the joint. What happens is the inflammation seems to spread, and those tendons, the connective tissue, become inflamed, brittle, and very irritated. What's remarkable is that if we can get that tendinitis under control, then what happens is that the joint feels much better. We can move it a lot more, and the movement itself helps to reduce the synovitis component, of the inflammation. And it is phenomenal what you can do if you can reduce the inflammatory synovitis in the big joints to help with those joints to get a lot of improvement. Okay, so you'll get workout, elbows, shoulders, fingers and hands, whole body strength, and the upper body. Now, this is so new. I literally am going to be spending the next 24 hours making sure this is all in place before you need it. So the first thing you'll look at is the diet and so on. But these are literally being finished in the next 24 hours. That's how new this information is. This is a huge amount of helpful information around, these are long videos, training videos, how to reduce methotrexate, the system I put together with my rheumatologist. It's a 30-minute video. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Inflammation in the knees, 52-minute video I've put together for you, exactly everything I did to restore health in my knee. How to eat out at restaurants, video, main recipes, how to reduce, avoid and reverse osteoporosis and osteopenia, exercise fundamentals, anemia, which is often anemia of chronic disease. I show you what to do about that and how to differentiate, what to do, how to support your loved one, because your loved one's probably going to say, how your loved one can support you, information about this program for them and what they can do to help you, and yoga for arthritis. Okay. In addition, and Donna says she doesn't have a high income. Don't worry, Donna. Don't worry, Donna. You'll see in a moment that I've done everything in my power to make this as achievable to everyone as possible. There are 360 little Q&A questions and answers that I have cut up and put into a Netflix-like video library from every question that has been asked of our rheumatologists in the last 18 months. Is it a question about Humira side effects, Arava side effects? Is it a question about the frequency of cortisone injections? Is it a question about how to eliminate fatigue or tapering prednisone? Everything has been edited into a searchable question and answer like Netflix package that you can search in an instant and get results. So I call this rheumatologist in your pocket. Okay, so that's what that is. And all of this is to help you to reduce your pain and blood inflammation markers. Because it's one thing to feel better, but it's another to show it in your blood markers. And when you show it in blood markers, the whole thing starts to go in your favour, because that's where the rheumatologist wants to look, is at your inflammation levels and your markers. So we want fast pain relief. Statistically, based on stats, I promise you that most people experience significant and exciting pain reduction within 2 days. Now, that sounds far-fetched, but that's just reality. It's a big intervention in the first 2 days. And just full disclosure, it's a cleanse. Okay, so we're going to clean out the inside to make way for the new foods. And this thing is very effective. Okay. And don't worry, you don't need any fancy equipment. It helps if you have a juicer, but you don't have to have a juicer to do it. You just need the plants. Then we want to lower your C-reactive protein. This is one of the key markers of inflammation in the blood alongside SED rate or ESR. We're going to look at those after a month and say, have we seen improvements? There's a troubleshooting guide of 30 interventions that you can make if you haven't seen inflammation reduction in that time. So, or you can ask us on the live call, but there are solutions that are there for you to make the progress that I expect you will. To increase your energy levels tremendously so that you can have much more energy. I know drugs, especially methotrexate, sometimes sulfasalazine, can make us feel very tired and fatigued. And with our immune system attacking perceived enemy, which is just the lining of our joints, being so active, this also contributes to fatigue. So we want to increase the energy levels, and we want to go to sleep at night without the fear of waking up with pains or the morning stiffness in the morning. So whilst we're dealing with a very challenging disease, and I can't say, hey, you're going to wake up with no pain, that's impossible. That's impossible and ludicrous to say. But you can go to bed at night in more peace as you go through this journey of healing and improvement with lesser and lesser concern about the impact of what's going to happen during the night. And what we want to do is also prevent ourselves from getting other challenges that come, more than challenges, things with rheumatoid like high blood pressure, the osteoporosis we talked about, diabetes, and heart disease. These things are all reduced by going on a plant-based diet. So we're going to get these other reduction of the risk factors that are associated with RA by doing this as well. And I want you to exercise more. Really, I need you to move your body as well as you can to be able to reduce inflammation and just to restore mobility and improve the capacity of your body to be in more extreme circumstances, and not extreme as you would think like high-level fitness. I just mean like improving range of motion, improving strength, improving cardiovascular ability. And what I want to throw in as well was a guide to help you to eat out at restaurants. Again, disclosure here, you might not be eating out at restaurants for a couple of weeks, and I'd like it if you could do 3 or 4 weeks, because it's dangerous out there. So the biggest danger we have with rheumatoid arthritis is other people's foods. That's the biggest danger we have. We've got predictability with the meds. We've got predictability with the way we exercise. We've got predictability with when we eat at home. But when we eat other people's foods, we don't know what's in there. We could be highly allergenic to some egg or dairy product, and we all are going to have negative consequences from oils. So I want you to be very mindful of that, and that we have to eat out at restaurants cautiously. And that's what this ebook here enables you to do is say, at that restaurant, eat that. At that restaurant, eat that, choose that, ask for that modification, and that'll get you under control. Okay, so let's see. I'll just put this in the chat bar. I've put in the chat bar an opportunity to receive all of these things. So that's the Paddison program, all the workout guides. A lot of this stuff is brand new. The Rheumatologist Q&A Mega Pack, that's the rheumatologist in your pocket with 360 answers to common questions that you might never get a chance to ask your rheumatologist about. Video training about knees and methotrexate and supporting a loved one, anemia and more. The live calls, you can join me and the rheumatologist every month, and how to eat out at restaurants. And to answer someone's question before about making it affordable, so there's over $2,000 worth of stuff here, and it's all only $147 a year. So anyone who has seen our work in the past knows that that is that price does not normally include all of these extra bonuses and guides and videos and so on. So it's a pretty amazing offer, and I hope you're excited to be able to make a transformation like I've talked about. If you go to the chat bar, you can actually see the offer there, and you can click through right now and get that. And this has worked for people with rheumatoid arthritis, which we had, I think 85% of our group today has rheumatoid. Psoriatic arthritis, I think I had that wrong, it was 7% plus 1. Lupus, ankylosing spondylitis, polymyalgia rheumatica, and non-specific inflammatory arthritis. So if you've got inflammation in the body, then these principles apply, both newly diagnosed and long-term. So we've seen people be able to become newly diagnosed and then currently, as I record this, still not require medication. And also people who've been diagnosed for a very long period of time and they have a very, very long history of RA, be able to experience some tremendous results. So that is an opportunity on this call. I wanted to, put this together to say thanks for joining today and showing your interest and being part of a mindset that there's more to it than what we typically get told. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just simply do what all the other people that I've shown you on this presentation have done, and you can expect tremendous results. It only requires a small leap of faith. It's not a tremendous investment, and what I've done is I've added a 30-day money-back guarantee, because if you're thinking, look, I'm going to take the opportunity while all the bonuses are involved, go for it, knowing that you've got completely no questions asked, 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, so again, results are quick. Amy says, I'm only on day 4 and I cannot believe the difference. I can't even begin to describe how much better I feel, because she took all that stuff that's irritating her out of the diet and she's now adding all the stuff that supports health. She says, I'm almost craving the celery and cucumber juice, which is one of the early interventions that are so helpful. It's almost a miracle to wake up the last few days and feel almost normal. Thank you. So there's our opportunity. I'm going to take some questions now. Let's see over here. Yes, this is US dollars. Thanks, Barbara. This is US dollars. David says, what about fibromyalgia? So I do not ever stretch anything from truth into speculation. Our whole program's based on scientific evidence, and the truth is with fibromyalgia, I can only think of one case where someone has actually done this with fibromyalgia. So we're talking 12 to 13,000 people with rheumatoid and lupus and ankylosing and psoriatic. And like literally, I can hardly think of one person. And I can't remember how they did. So look, but we're talking about inflammatory autoimmunity. You can see from the fundamentals of what we've talked about today that it would be highly unlikely if it didn't provide some benefit based on purely just a plant-based diet alone. Okay, so Kamal says, what about raw nuts, Clint? So remember we're talking about the omega-3 and omega-6s. When you get to a point, if you follow all of the crucial things that I've talked about and you can get in our system, and you get to a point where your inflammation levels are really low and you feel really stable, then it's possible to start playing with the increase of omega-6s. And whether you soak them or not, the omega-6s in nuts, all of them far outweigh the omega-3s. So I used to eat heaps of nuts, heaps of them, and no consequences. But it, and that's a game that you want to play carefully. And there is a place within our reintroduction guide. So you might see on the screen there, there's a little phone at the front. On that phone display, there's a whole bunch of foods down the left-hand side and right-hand side. That is the sequence of reintroduction of foods. That's the first 20 foods. Nuts is not the first 20 foods. Okay, so it is not in the first 20 because of the omega-3, omega-6 reasons. And sprouting or soaking them is definitely better, easier to digest, but what I've just said still applies. Avocado, we've spoken about avocado earlier on, and avocado is a situation similar to nuts. It's later in the reintroduction guide, and you'll see that it's. I think off memory, I think it's around day 60. Avocado. But there's a ton of delicious foods you can eat before you get to avocado. You'll be eating lots of great foods and not going hungry and not feeling disappointed without your avocado. So I think the concept that I just want to reiterate here is we're aiming for low fat. Low fat. It's better to go low fat and then bump up your omega-3s really specifically than eating a lot of fat where omega-3 still plays a large role. And the reason gets complicated, very complicated, and that's where we go into oxidative stress, we go into bile acids, the breakdown of fat. It gets more complicated than we need for today. And what I've found consistently is let's go low fat and then bump up the 3s, and you're going to be very happy with low fat, high 3s. Okay, so that's Curdy has ordered. Okay, fantastic. Curdy, I really look forward to having you on an upcoming call, and we can answer all your questions there. I can also take a question from you here as well. Daniela says, tahini, I use tahini as a dressing, 2 tablespoons. Tahini is, again, the fat. Okay, so we're getting a consistent sequence of questions and a consistent answer from me. And I hope you appreciate that I just got to speak to what works and not what everyone wants to hear. Best off following the low-fat sequence of reintroductions that I'm talking about here. And with time, you can have tahini. Tahini's healthy, okay? But you can actually see the oil in tahini when you, if you buy it from the store especially. It's rich in fat. And again, it's rich in omega-6s over 3s. It's bloody hard to find foods that are mostly 3s. I'm telling you. Now, here's something I should have said before. Historians believe that we are typically meant to run a 1-to-1 ratio, or at worst, a 1-to-4 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. So that means that for every omega-3 we consume, the quantity we consume, historically humans ate 1 omega-6 amount, up to 4, so 4 times. It's estimated that the Western diet that all of us eat today, and one of the reasons I believe that underpins so much health problems, not just rheumatoid, but worldwide, and chronic inflammation has become like the underlying cause of everything, is because Western diet is 1-to-20 to 1-to-30. So for every omega-3 you're eating 20 to 30 omega-6s. And keep in mind, Omega-3 creates inflammation in our cells. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. So you can see the vast difference of what we actually need to what we're actually doing. Rachel has a question. She already has the program and she wants to know a question about the pricing structure. Yes, email me, Rachel. If you already have the Paddison program and you want to switch to this and take advantage of everything today, send me an email, info@rheumatoidsolutions.com, and we'll switch it out for you. Okay. Judy says, what about raw honey? Raw honey isn't going to make or break your future. It is going to act as a sweetener to some of your meals. There's no fat in it. I don't have any personal strong views about, environmental reasons of eating honey. That there are concerns if you already have compromised health about eating pure sugar, and that's what it is. It's pure sugar, okay? So it's not a health strategy, but nor is it going to send you crumbling like you will if you go out and have for your next evening meal some deep fried veggie wedges. Okay, so if we get most of what we do right, a little cheap like some raw honey, you won't even probably notice it unless you, like I talk about in the food sensitivity testing in here, unless you actually have identified that high sugar intake for you causes inflammation. And it does for many people, even fruits. So there's a subset of people who go through this process who find that fruits they can't even tolerate. And so it might take them 6 weeks. It might take them 6 weeks before they can eat some blueberries or some papaya or some cantaloupe, which are 3 of the early fruits that we want you to introduce. Tremendous health benefits, especially papaya and cantaloupe, so much, just to name a couple of examples of early fruits that are delicious, things you may not eat that often, but are pretty easily available and are transformative. Okay, so we've got a question about underweight. If you're underweight, there are some modifications in the program so that you don't have to lose weight. It just adds an extra challenge to the situation, but this is where the exercise guides that are part of this package are going to be very helpful. Putting on weight is so easy. You look at everyone around you for examples. Just look at everyone around you and how hard they find it not to keep weight off. So the challenge we have is not, oh, it's hard to gain weight. The challenge we have is, how do I put on muscle mass without increasing inflammation? And the great guidelines around that. And conceptually, it's basically exercise like this and eat more safe calories like this, and then you'll exceed your calorie requirement to build muscle, which is required, and you won't hurt your joints while you build muscle. So that's the concept. Is there a type of sugar that I could eat, says Miriam? Fruits. Yeah, Fruit City. You just have to wait for a little while before you start testing the fruits, and then you'll love fruits. And when you're not eating animal products, you can also put fruits alongside your main meals. You don't have to eat fruits separately like you do when you're eating animal sources and oils and things. You've got simple sugars, simple carbohydrates in the fruits, and then complex carbohydrates. Well, guess what? Simple carbs, complex carbs, they go together just fine in the stomach and no digestive issues. Jassy said, would you comment on cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil for salad dressing? So it doesn't matter if it's cold-pressed or whether it's been, really, really treated well. Olive oil still falls in the category of more omega-6 than omega-3, and you'll see in the program here that we don't include oils. So if your big challenge at the moment is that you like putting oils on things, you are in for a treat. You're about to feel better real fast. And I promise you that once you get that out of the diet and you start replacing it with foods that support your health, things will begin to transform for you. Alan says, I don't mind the odd beer or two. What effect does this have on RA? Depends on the person, okay? So I would say that if you're getting 95% of things right in your diet and you wanted to continue to have a beer, you'll still make progress. You'll still make progress despite having a beer, okay? But if your beers at the moment are on top of a Western diet that's high in oils, meat, dairy, then it makes it harder to ever see improvements without just trying to find the right medication. Okay, I'll take a couple more. Julie says, thanks, Clint. No worries. Yeah, I hope everyone's found this exciting. And look, even if I just want to make sure that even if people decide not to go with me on this journey, that this has still been helpful. I want everyone to walk away knowing that you can get confidence over your condition. You can get control. And our objective is not to ditch medication. No, this is to be done in parallel with medication, with the aim and your goals to be to get your inflammation down as low as you possibly can. And then, like in the methotrexate reduction video, then you can make some tweaks to maybe discuss with your rheumatologist about some medication reduction, constantly aiming for low levels of CRP and ESR. And you don't even have to get them measured half the time. You can tell your fists are created better. Your feet don't hurt as much when you walk and so on. Will this offer be good through tomorrow? It might be very late where you are, and the answer is yes. So go ahead and have a sleep on it if you want to. Yes, the offer will be good through tomorrow, because I don't know what time it is for you, Karen, and you might have to get to bed, or you might, like me, have kids about to drag you away. So absolutely, yes. Grab the link. That's what to do. Grab the link from the chat bar. Click on the link and save it, because the video will be taken down. Okay, so save the link. Okay, Rachel says, does this include having a journal and being able to interact with others on the program? That is rheumatoid support. And no, this doesn't include that. However, if you would like, then there are advantages of being able to have this today and then switch, and I will help you out in that department. If you want to grab this as for the offer, and then I will assist you with becoming part of our support group if you want to have interactions each day with others following this process, and you want to have my interaction literally daily, and all the other coaches that we have on there. So we have a lot of coaches on there. So if you would like to learn more about that, I pay all the coaches, and not all the coaches, let me correct myself. I have more costs and time involved with rheumatoid support, so email me about that, and I will help you if you're already set up with this to transition. Okay, now in the chat, yes, Marianne said it's well worth it to have information because health is everything. As I experienced when I went to my rheumatologist for the first time in 8 years, after just coming back to Australia and checking in on him, it was $400 because I was considered a new patient because I hadn't seen him in 8 years or something. $400. And I've had people repeatedly say that just the 1 hour that they get with their rheumatologist on our live call, they learn more in that 1 hour than they do in their entire year of self-research. So I do wholeheartedly believe that this is exceptional value. Oh, and if someone's concerned, no one's asked this, but if you want to cancel at any time, of course you can. So if you don't want to stay with us at the end of the first 12 months, you'll get a reminder email saying, hey, just by the way, just letting you know that your membership with Rheumatoid Solutions and all the things that you get, this is just about to renew. And if you don't want to, you don't have to renew. Okay, so you just get an email and say, I'm good. I'm doing great now. I'm all good. Or you can stay with us and continue to be part of our community and see the ever-growing library of information. Okay, I think we're just about the end of the questions. Jill says, this program works. Just follow the guidelines and watch for rapid results. Clint, I've emailed regarding switching. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jill. Really appreciate it. That's lovely. Barbara had that question too, I guess, about the renewal. And Diva says, does Rheumatoid Solutions equal the Paddison program? The Paddison program is just a small subset of Rheumatoid Solutions. So I've made it almost a no-brainer that if Paddison program is $99 and for $147 a year you get all this other stuff, I've kind of tried to make it a no-brainer and make it as easy as possible for people to go down this path. And again, if you're on one of these platforms and you want to switch, info@rheumatoidsolutions.com, and we can switch you out as part of this special offer if you just have the Paddison program, because now my wisdom has led me to understand that more ways can be offered to help people. The communication on the live calls is so good. The library is insane of searching for the rheumatology answers. You know, it takes out of the picture needing to always go to Google, and of course Google just sends you up the wrong tree every time. So, yep. So Diane says, thank you for making this point, Diane. Diane says, you can watch his videos and figure this out, right? So I have 170 odd podcasts that you can go and definitely subscribe to the podcast. And this is a great opportunity to say, if you take no action today at all, at least go and listen to the podcasts. Probably each week or so I release a new podcast and I have guests on and we talk about them going through this journey. Different guests of different sort of levels of experience and use different parts of what we've talked about today. But they all talk about their journey, what they did, what they emphasize, what they do, and there's so much to learn. So if you take no action today, at least go and listen to the podcast, because like Diane says, you can learn so much just from the podcast, and you can listen to it in the car or on a treadmill or even just at home while you're doing the dishes. So Diane says, I imagine this is a way cheaper than drugs and declining health. Hear. Karen says, can I keep taking multivitamin while on the program? Yeah. So I defer to Dr. McDougall when it comes to vitamins. He's been a mentor of mine. His work has been a mentor of mine over the years. I met him in Santa Rosa a few years ago, and he's one of my heroes, I'd like, if you could use that word. I certainly have him in the highest esteem. He thinks that a lot of multivitamins can do more harm than good. Now, that's his opinion. Because I don't know the studies, I kind of think, well, do we need the multivitamin? So now I'm answering you, do we need the multivitamin? 98% of the vitamins and minerals we need are in leafy greens. It's phenomenal. Nature has put together the perfect multivitamin and multimineral for you. I also like to, where possible, try and include some more seaweed, which is just the under the ocean version of a leafy green with different minerals, different nutrients. It's become harder to find dulse, which is my favorite and most delicious seaweed in the past few years because of pollution. Worldwide oceans have become polluted, and it's hard to grow with polluted waters and disruption in climate and so on. But you can get most of the minerals and vitamins that you need via the foods, but as long as you're eating the foods, right? So it's a different answer if you're going to not do anything different and you want to take your multivitamin. Maybe it's a good idea. Do you need it if you're eating a mineral and vitamin rich diet? I don't take one, but I don't think it's going to hurt. Like, I don't know the studies on the dangers, but I don't hear people getting into trouble from them. Okay. Kathy says, we'll be joining. Thanks so much for what sounds like a great program. I only get 10 minutes once every 3 months, so the Rheumi access alone is worth it. Kathy, let me give you my promise. Next time we do a live Q&A session with the next rheumatologist, which is, as we're doing this now, it's like 2 weeks away. Email me beforehand and I'll give you the first question. Okay? So you can ask question first. And if there's questions that are like this in the chat right now, I'll ask it for you. Okay. Let's see. Judy says, been watching your podcasts for several months now. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Thank you. If you could keep listening, and if you have iTunes or a podcast player, can you give us a 5-star review, because that would be helpful as well. Judy also says, I went to the Rumi here in Australia, $400. It's expensive in Australia. All she did was write drug prescriptions and said, no, diet won't help. I went home and said, no medication, and I've been eating plant-based for a while now. I just signed up as I feel I need to change just a few more things. The subtlety of the changes are immense. I'll give you 2 examples. One time, my wife was making all my salads for me, and I was putting olive oil on my salad. And weeks, months went by, and while you're not healing, you're worsening. While your joints are inflamed, they're degrading. And so months are going by, and I'm like, I'm eating all this salad. And then my wife, went away, or I think she had to work or something one night, and I ate it without the oil. The next morning, I felt so much better. And I said, honey, I did better without the oil. And she says, but oil's good for you, blah, 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 and all the things that we're led to understand. And I said, I'm not going to eat the oil. And she was mad. She was mad with me. But I put up with the friction of the relationship instead of the friction of the joints. And what happened was that was a step forward for me. And another time, I stopped putting flax seeds in smoothies. This was another breakthrough. Now, this is a little anecdote that tells more about the combination of foods than what it actually does around being a warning about flax seeds. When you put high-fat things in with high-sugar things, what does that sound like? That sounds like ice cream. And when you make that mistake in a smoothie, your digestion doesn't know what to do. Does it digest instantly the sweet stuff, the sugars, or does it try and work the fats further down the small intestine where the bile acids need to come in and the enzymes need to come in? And it's not clear. That's not natural mixing all this ground up flax and fruits. And so when I stopped doing that, that was another breakthrough. So we like smoothies. We just like doing them right. Okay. Okay. Mike says, how do I access the program? I can't get anywhere. Help, please, after I've already... Oh, there's an email. So what you'll do is you'll get an email, check your spam and junk. It'll come through to your email address. If you've entered your email address correctly, it'll come through to your email address, and it could be in junk or spam, and it is your login details. It'll say from Rheumatoid Solutions, and there will be a link, a username, which will be your email, and a password, and then it'll take you straight through. And then you'll see 3 things. You'll see Paddison Program, Rheumatoid Solutions, which is all the content in here, and then the live calls, and you can work your way through each of those specific 3 areas. Start by going into the Paddison Program and click on your materials, and that's where you'll find the key things to get started right away. Sarah says nitric oxide. Yes, comes from plants. So we want nitric oxide, which helps particularly research from a cardiovascular point of view. Yep, there's just a nitric oxide question, and I believe what you're asking is, can we get nitric oxide from plants? Absolutely. Kathy says, thanks, Clint. Great. Cindy says, what food is recommended if you don't eat meat? All the things in this approach that I'm talking about. There are so many foods. In fact, meat foods only comprise a small percentage of all the foods that are available to us on the planet. And so I'm going to give you a great tip, Cindy. This alone can change your life. Switch out every time you go to eat meat with lentils. Okay? So you'll say, well, legumes, I should say. So you're like, oh, what does that mean? That means go to the grocery store and buy pinto beans, black beans, adzuki beans, red lentils, brown lentils, yellow lentils. And what you do is you make simple recipes in black beans, and you make simple recipes dal, Indian dal. It's just some spices and a few things mixed together, and then you put it in a pot, and then you whack that on the plate instead of the meat. Everything we talk about is how to do that. There's 30 recipes in here showing you how to do that. Recipe book is actually on the screen next to the workout lady with her hands behind her like that. That's us. No, that's not that. Oh, no, that's not that either. Okay, it's different. But there's a recipe guide that you'll see. Click on Paddison Program section, then click on My Materials, and you'll see that there is a recipe guide there. Recipe guides typically only fall into place after you've been doing the recommended sequence of foods and you've gotten to a point where you now have enough of the foods to make the recipe. Okay, and at that point you can do that recipe. Okay, Jassy says, so overwhelming, Clint, and then sad face. Jassy, okay, so you've got a couple options. Here are a couple of options. Number one, you can remain a little bit overwhelmed and take some time and go and listen to our podcasts and start to think about a transition. Or you can take a leap of faith with a 30-day money-back guarantee, jump into this system, log in and just read the main ebook in the Paddison Program section. It's about a 4-hour read, and it will go through all aspects of this and put all the questions to bed, make you feel real confident with the approach, and then you can just proceed at your own pace. You might just want to say, look, I'm just going to do meat-free Monday, and I'm going to have some beans and rice and a big salad, maybe some papaya alongside it on a Monday night. Or you might say, heck with it. I'm going for it. I'm going to do exactly what they say. It's like spelled out to you. Do this, buy this, eat this at this time, and then see how you feel in a few days, and then make some modifications if need be that are all covered. Change. Okay, so it's all spelled out to you, and it's there if you want it. Otherwise, take some time. Listen to the podcast, learn more. This might be too much too soon, especially if you're just Western diet, lots of meds, lots of pain. Take some time. It's up to you. Okay, great question. What about chia seeds? The question comes in, what about chia seeds? There's a place for chia seeds. It's the first high-fat food that is recommended in our reintroduction guide. Okay, so it's not an early stage strategy, but there are some great benefits of eating more chia seeds. It has a 3-to-1 positive ratio, omega-3 to omega-1. But early stages, remember, I want everyone low fat. That's where the studies are. That's where McDougall showed a C-reactive protein reduction of everyone who followed a low-fat, plant-based diet over a period of, I think, only 3 weeks, significant C-reactive protein reduction. So we've got that scientific data. We know that. It's like proven. So I like to follow that and then start increasing fat, increasing diversity. A lot of people just want more calories too at a certain point, and you can go down each one of those sort of choose your own adventures based on the reintroduction guide. Charmaine says, lentils and chickpeas cause me pain. Yes. So neither of those are in the first 3-4 weeks of the program, so you don't have to worry. Okay. Let's see. Thanks. I was worried about the no meat because of my B vitamins. Yep. So everything that we get from meat can be gotten from plants. And in fact, most of it easier and higher quality. So it can all be done. What rice is best to eat? This one I go out on a bit of a strange limb, and you'll find that in the reintroduction guide, I talk about basmati rice before I talk about brown rice. This is based purely on anecdotal feedback. I find that people do better on white rice than what they do brown. And obviously brown is healthier, but there is something about the simplicity of the white rice. It's slightly less acidifying than the brown rice, And so you'll find a counterintuitive situation that white is presented as a reintroduction before brown. And that's anecdotal. I don't have science on that, but that's what I find. Okay, Rachel says, excellent presentation, very informative and inspiring. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you. I need a drink of water. All right, I might wrap it up there. Thank you so much. And just to conclude, don't be overwhelmed. If you want some time, listen to the podcast, just as Barbara said earlier. If you want to get started at some point in the future and you think, I'm definitely going to want to do this at some point, then take advantage of the offer today, because this is pretty unique. Third of all, remember all of the basics. Plants. The more plants, the better. No downside of eating plants. Health, health, health. Leafy greens, get as many into you as can. Green smoothies is going to help. Just all the benefits of greens are just immense, but just don't put oils on them. Some balsamic vinegar, lemon, that's fine. Okay, get the greens into you however you can. Do some exercise, which will help to reintroduce more foods and expand your diet. Focus on the C-reactive protein and the SED rate, not on med reduction. Med reduction is a symptom of improvement, not the goal. Okay, we're after low inflammation. And we want to avoid oils. No oils, please. And that will help you a lot. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. You guys are tremendous. Love you all for putting your health first. My heart, my spirit, my soul, everything is connected with you because of this diagnosis that we were never, ever expecting in our life, that set us back and made cartilage a precious resource that we have to think about that others do not. And thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening to our podcast. And I might see you on a live call. And I pray that these materials allow you to make a transformation in your life and get substantial and wonderful improvements. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Sakinda. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you, Nora. And I'll leave it there. Thanks so much. And bye for now. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.